My brain's splitting off in so many different directions. My brain's splitting off in so many different. My brain's splitting off in so many different directions that no one has the answers to. My dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Things upset me. What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? Questions that no one has the answers to.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, where we're currently covering X-Force / X-Statix. Marvel Comics rebooted X-Force right in the middle. So we're on X-Force 117, where the team X-Statix has basically taken over. They're not named that yet, but we're going to get there eventually, we promise. We are having a good time with this, Gary.
Yeah, I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
In the last issue, we were introduced to the team, which unfortunately mostly died, but largely and more importantly introduced to the concepts and kind of themes we're going to be running with.
Yes. Which
concern image and fame and what it means to, whether there is a space for actual heroics in capitalism, things like that this series explores. And we're getting our principal characters here on the cover. We have this little triptych of what are going to be our main characters for a while.
And we know two of them. So the woman that's floating in the air looking like she's asleep is Edie / You Go Girl. And the guy with the visor at the bottom, when we're zoomed in on his face, is Anarchist, a.k.a. Tyke, who has weird sweat acid powers. But who's this guy in the middle, Gary? Who's this dude with the antenna?
Well, we're gonna find out in this issue, and it's one of those things where I'm going to keep calling him his old code name because I think it's much better than the one he comes up with.
Yes,
so it's always bugged me. But he's got antenna. He's got these little bumps all over him. It's a really weird looking design. White hair. And we get right into it with that character, with their narration as they're taking a specially constructed shower that does a mist on him, but it still feels like daggers in his skin.
Yes. And his narration is all about how he's gotten used to the suit that Professor X designed for him. So without the suit, he can feel just about anything. He's so sensitive to everything. The example is a fly comes by and he can feel like the vibration from the fly buzzing down his spine. But with this suit on, he's deadened and he can actually go and have a normal life. If you count like playing Russian roulette every single morning, a normal life, which is what he's waking up to do, or no, which is what he's going to do at the end of the day. Yeah.
Every night he plays Russian roulette, which like I think about Russian roulette a lot because I find it's like a useful metaphor for things. And one of the things that disavowed when I was younger, I used to think like Russian roulette. I was like, oh yeah, like you could do that because you have such good chances of living. And then I started playing D&D and was realizing like, oh, like I roll 3 sixes, I roll 3 ones. Like this isn't, that shit happens. You could not pay me. Like I would not do Russian roulette for $1 million, so
2 million.
It's scary shit. No,
3.
No, I don't think I would do any amount of money.
30
for a 1 in 6 chance of dying.
Dude, 30 is the life changer right there, man. Come on.
30 is a big life changer. I don't think I'd do it though.
I mean, I'm
to die. If I didn't have to shoot my head, then yes.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, if you're talking about your foot, then $30 is as high as I'm going to go for you. Maybe shooting your foot off.
Check this out, dude. If we're going to get back into the 30 million thing, I will do Russian roulette with my dick. Huh?
Okay. I mean, I'm not. GoFundMe.com
Pay out. / Gary Dick Russian roulette.
I mean,
it's 2021 and everyone's doing the Podcaster's Dick Challenge.
Oh man, what do we like? I don't think he would do. I don't think he could pull the trigger. I really don't. I really don't think he could pull the trigger. I don't know that
For 30 mil?
I would say this outright. I don't think that I could like shoot myself in any form or fashion, even if I knew that there was 30 million, even if I knew that there was going to be like if I had to go to Vietnam or something, or shoot myself. Like I don't know that I could injure myself with a gun that way. Like I just don't know that I'd have the fucking stones to do it. But I definitely could not shoot myself in the dick. Like I don't think I could force myself to pull the trigger.
I think I could for 30 million.
Well, we're down to $30 on dick shooting. So.
No deal.
What's your dick worth to you, Gary?
Is this a negotiation or what?
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to save a buck and see a dick. Okay.
A freestanding one. We cut over to the name of this issue, which is Mr. Sensitive. And I love this little detail we see inside Mr. Sensitive's house here, and it's full of shag carpeting and the walls are all soundproofed, which I think is a really nice little detail.
Yeah.
Like all the padding on the walls.
Looks like this dude is just constantly podcasting.
Yeah, constantly. We cut over to the Anarchist and Coach and Edie looking over the footage of the massacre.
Yeah. And obviously, this is stressing out the people the survivors of this because not Zeitgeist, Jesus Christ, I don't know why I keep calling him Zeitgeist. Anarchist is convinced that they were coming after him, and Edie is like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, for all we know, you could have been the person that done this. Like, they're kind of, everything is breaking down. Like, they weren't really stable to begin with, and now this extra pressure is just making them fall apart, especially because Anarchist's attitude is a little bit grating.
Yeah. And they start making this play for leadership. You know, like, you're going to have to chill out if I'm going to be the leader. And she's like, well, if I'm going to be the new leader, and Coach is basically saying, this is the risk. Like, you can die at any time here. When they start accusing each other he's like, maybe you did this, Edie. She's like, well, if that were true, then I wouldn't have gotten, revenge on the killers. Yeah. And they show her going into the helicopter, and it is, these faceless kind of drones in the helicopter with a helmet who she teleported out into the middle of nowhere so that it splat on the street.
Yeah.
And then, same thing, like Edie says, well, maybe you're working with them because you killed them before we could interrogate anyone, he's like, well, yeah, maybe I got a little carried away. They show him dissolving everyone in acid.
Yeah, the fun thing about this argument is that as they're talking about this in front of like a movie projector, right? Like in front of an actual screen, in the background you can see this all happening because of course Dupe was there filming everything. So you see him ripping spines out of people and going fucking nuts. But ultimately, like, Anarchist, this whole thing is not to really take anything seriously, which really irks Edie because this is something that she actually wants. Like, she wants to be the leader. This is a goal for her. This is something serious.
Yep. And it will make sense here. They're saying, like, she says, like, let's reform X-Force without Anarchist on it. And Coach says no. The new team has already been selected. The new leader has already been selected. The owner doesn't want our new owner doesn't want any conflict. And there's this great, little bit here where Anarchist is like, the new owner, you mean the guys who give us mission aren't some kind of shady and mysterious organization? And Google Girl's like, no, morally ambiguous, answerable to no one but themselves, And of course, no, it's a venture capitalist. Yeah. And we're introduced to our shitty, like, 20-year-old software billionaire.
Yes, absolutely.
Who runs the team.
The shitty Elon Musk of this whole thing.
Absolutely.
And he's a
Spike Freeman.
He's a trillionaire, 34 years old. Can you imagine having $1 trillion when you were 34 years old? Jesus Christ.
Dude.
Okay.
I would not be good.
Maybe shoot my dick off for $33.
I would shoot my dick.
Yeah.
I would shoot your dick off for that much.
I would shoot your dick off for $30, like, if we're being serious.
We could do it together, like Gift of the Magi.
Okay. Like,
we'll split it, dude.
You will not believe what happened on this episode of Days of Future Cast.
Well, it's not quite a murder-suicide. It's a lot more complicated than that.
It's a little bit more complicated. We're going to have to take some time on this one. Starts out with X-Force 116.
Yeah. Coach says, like, listen, this is non-negotiable. The media already had their press packets. Yeah. And we are given the sizzle reel of the team.
Yep. And we start out with... what is this
Pink.
dude's name? Bloke. Yeah, but AKA...
Bloke. Oh, yeah. Used to be Pink.
But he's from San Francisco, and he fights crime. He has weird skin and a weird facial structure. And he used to be like Rainbow Dude, which was his former name. Excuse me, not Pink, Rainbow. But then his abilities kind of matured, and he was able to camouflage himself. And then when he pinks up, he can wreak a bunch of havoc. They show him literally twisting the head off of some poor soldier in a tank. So,
yep. And this is all written in like media speak, like a commercial.
Yes.
They're playing up his gayness, his sexuality for marketing. Like he's big and pink and has impeccable taste in soft furnishings.
Exactly.
He is the, they talk about his kill rating of 6 per mission, really, really good. So he's going to kind of be the Hulk of the team. We cut over again to this commercial, basically for our next character, Miles Alfred, aka the Vivisector, who is a nerd. And when he gets teased, he basically turns into a werewolf.
Yes.
Here. And
they show him shredding his bullies because, of course, that's a classic style. That's a classic story, Gary. The shy nerd, going fucking crazy. Next,
I love the bottom of this. Author of a critically acclaimed pamphlet on Walt Whitman and able to tear through steel walls with his teeth and claws.
Perfect. Yes.
Pamphlet on Walt Whitman.
Can't wait to get that zine in my inbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next up is Fat, aka Billy Bob Riley. They're really playing up his like kind of poor upbringing with racist and illiterate parents, alcoholics, and a life on the streets, and it becomes like this weird street thing. And then he thought he was just having like a weird, weight fluctuations because of stress, but it turns out he has a mutant ability to just change his entire body. And now he's called Fat, PHAT, because that's what we're doing now.
Again, it's marketing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're trying to make him seem like something he's not, which we're going to see, get that undercut really soon. He basically is like the Blob, except he can control it. Like he blobs up, and can, crush things or become, resilient in this way. And definitely coded in like an M&M
absolutely
kind of fashion. The next one we get is Saint Anna, who is presented as this like in this barrio in Buenos Aires, where this Catholic priest and an Argentinian like local Irish girl had sex and gave birth to this person who's kind of worshipped as a god. She has telekinesis. She can heal the sick. And they call her Saint Anna.
Yes.
As you mentioned.
And then we are introduced to our cover guy, the guy who's playing Russian roulette every single night, Mr. Sensitive, who was born with the antenna and the shock of white hair. But he was so ultra sensitive that he could barely like function. And so he spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to reduce that, trying to figure out how to live with this, including drugs, karate, meditation, all of this other stuff. Something in here is mentioned the obscene kiss, which I'm very curious about. Need more details on the obscene kiss, please. But eventually he met up with, or caught the attention of Charles Xavier, and Xavier designed him the suit that allowed him to kind of like have a normal, quote unquote, normal life.
Yeah. And be a superhero. Yeah. And of course we cut to this dysfunction. There's always going to be this backstage dysfunction,
just like at the one in-person Duckfest, there was all of that complete strife backstage.
This is basically what it was like. Where Mr. Sensitive, we cut over to him. He's just sitting there, not facing the team, as Vivisector and Fat and Bloke all trade barbs.
Yeah, because they're all like they're none of them are like they don't know each other. They don't particularly have any kind of bonding time together or anything, so they're all just like shitty and mean with each other. And our narration, our point of view is through Mr. Sensitive, and he's like, yeah, they are absolutely eating this up. Like they could tell that they made this, like being part of X-Force, because it's the celebrity thing. It's basically a ticket to be rich and famous and to do whatever you want. Like this is a stepping off point for their entire lives. So they are extremely excited about it, and they're not willing to back down. Like they think the best thing to do is to become aggressive and shitty people.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a great, I like Anarchist a lot in this book. You Go Girl pops in and is like, cool it, I will not tolerate this kind of behavior on my team. And Anarchist says, your team? Hey kids, I got a ball. You want to be on my team? Holding a basketball, which I really like. And then Coach grabs it and says, we're all on the same team. It's time for our next mission. Unlike the last one, this one will actually be dangerous.
Yeah. And Coach outlines this thing of there's this kid who got who's from the People's Republic of Bastrona. A lot of this is, I feel like, absolutely is commentary on like Western imperialism, because a lot of this happens in far countries. And The Boys is very popular right now, and that's like one of the hooks of that show is like, oh, we're not going to go send all of our superheroes into other countries because that's just going to be great. Like we can't really do that.
Yeah.
And it's
a theme of like the Ultimates as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is also, I think, Elian Gonzalez, if you remember that. Mm-hmm. This specifically, that image of him like a soldier pulling him from bed. Yeah. That's what I think this is meant to evoke. And they're basically saying, you recognize the footage, after they tried to get rescued, after he was rescued, they want to get him back. And the reason why is because he caused this gigantic crater. Like he's a mutant. It's half a mile wide, almost as deep.
Yeah.
The story was it was hit by a meteor, but that's not true.
Yeah, it didn't happen until the kid like moved in, and they were definitely having some problems.
Yeah.
And Mr. Sensitive has this moment where he can almost feel from this far away like how this kid is feeling. Like his powers have some like weird, interesting kind of ramifications where he realizes like that kid's an orphan. His parents died. Like I can feel his mother crying. I can feel the tires as it runs over his parents. But then they get sent out on the mission, and Coach says, hey, the leader of this team is going to be announced at the press conference. Like, you guys can stop fighting about it. And sure.
Yep.
Sure enough, we go back to our same area for the press conference where Mr. Sensitive kind of breaks into everything and announces that he has a name change to The Orphan.
It's very funny.
Yes.
Like, he's like, I have something to say. I am The Orphan.
Okay. I go to this joke a lot, but like it's just like the I declare bankruptcy thing on The Office, right? Like
very similar. And here's this great moment in the press conference, where you Go Girl kind of rolls her eyes. This is not about minor quibbles about your name, and who comes in but early 2000 rap rock Cannonball. And the rest of the old X-Force.
Yep.
Charging the stage, saying like this is all about media and merchandise and money. They're degrading the name of X-Force.
And they get into like this like kerfluffle, and there's some back and forth. You Go Girl takes what's her name, Meltdown, boom boom, all the way to the sky. And she can't fly or anything. And Domino comes up and like holds a gun on Boop, and Cannonball and Anarchist are fighting. Like it's just a kind of a mess at this press conference, which I would imagine if you're a team like this is fucking gold for you, right? Like this is exactly where you want to be.
Yeah, I love the bit, Edie being like, we went over this Cannonball. If you like the name so much, you should have trademarked it. Like, the idea of X-Force, like, living in the desert, being run by Cable and trademarking their name is really funny to me.
Very funny to me. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm going to have every X-Force website, it says copywritten,
Yeah.
You think that's how Scott found out what Cable's real name is? He was just looking up the trademark. Nathan Summers. What?
What
does this mean? What are
the
ramifications?
NathanSummers.com. So Mr. Sensitive ends up saving Dupe, and there's a part where the reporter asks the coach, he's like, hey, are you worried they're going to kill each other? And he's like, despite appearances, these are all professionals. And what he's saying basically is like his team is not going to kill anybody because it would be a public relations nightmare, and the X-Force people are heroes. Like they might hurt each other, but no one's going to die.
Yeah.
At this point, as we show Fat and Vivisector take out Warpath, and we get to the end of this little fight. They fought off old X-Force.
Yep. And the coach announces that the new captain is going to be, and of course we go over to Edie and Anarchist. But actually, it's going to be Mr. Sensitive, a.k.a. The Orphan. I'm with you. I think Mr. Sensitive is a very direct and like it's a real easy to remember name. The Orphan just does not work for me at all, which I think is on purpose. I think all of that is on purpose. So
yeah, I don't love it, and nobody likes this. Orphan is saying like, don't do this. I'm not ready. Like, make Yugo Girl the leader. She wants it and deserves it. She's flipping out. Like, I've got seniority. I'm the one who gets us around. There's this great thing where she tells him to drop dead and teleports away, and the way the art does it is really cool. It looks like an Andy Warhol print of like half, kind of faded images appearing from her. Mm-hmm. And then Anarchist congratulates him. He's like, you're not disappointed? No, I just wanted to rile Edie up. I don't want this to be the leader. Have you ever heard the term poison chalice?
Yep.
So
like another just view into Anarchist, just trying to live up to his name and just causing strife, even if he doesn't necessarily care about anything. From here we go to Mr. Sensitive, like getting home for the day, and what looks like just like an average house in a suburb somewhere, which I don't know why that cracks me up so much. Like just to have this dude in a weird uniform, like unlocking his
just
door
walking with a duffel bag.
Yeah,
what's in that duffel bag?
And a newscaster like confronts him and starts badgering him with questions, and he's answering the questions, but like very monosyllabically. When the door closes and she's kind of doing her exit run, they hear a gunshot inside the house, and we don't know what happened because that's where the issue ends.
Yeah, that's our cliffhanger. Yep. Dun dun dun. We know he plays Russian roulette. Is he dead? No. So that's going to be the end of this issue. We're kind of doing an arc. This is the beginning of the first like little miniature arc of this. This comic is roughly structured around these missions that they'll go on. Yeah. So this is kind of the Paco Perez arc, which is basically the whole X-Force part of this kind of revolves around this.
Yeah.
So we're going to find out, the team's going to go on that mission next issue, and we're going to see how these new Ecstatics people handle it.
Yeah. And this is, the first issue literally killing off all but two of the main team is, I think, pretty amazing. Like, you really have to love that. And then, like, learning who these people are and, like, getting introduced to Mr. Sensitive and everything. Like, what I keep getting struck by is not just the art, which, like, remains so good that we forget to talk about it. Like, I think that's probably the best thing you could say on a podcast like this, where we tend to pick out the flaws and make fun of them. But also just, like, how well realized that they are in a very short amount of time. Like, you feel like you already know Mr. Sensitive to a degree, and it's just so well and elegantly, like, presented to you that it just... there's no dump of exposition. Like, it's just very well written, and it's so much fun to read. Like, it just breezes by when you're reading it. I love it so much.
Yeah, they're really well sketched.
Exactly.
We're going to get a lot more development on these three characters specifically, even very soon. But they start off just kind of making sense, and there isn't that problem that comes up in a lot of team books with more conventional superhero writers, I find, where any of the lines people say, like, anybody on the team could have said it. Like, a lot of times I'll read the Avengers, and like, if you just took a line out of nowhere, like, oftentimes I could tell if it was Thor, because it has verilies and thous and shit.
Of course.
And sometimes like Hawkeye's kind of a smart ass. But like, I defy people to know the difference between, like, just with the text, a line that like Scarlet Witch said versus like Black Knight.
Yeah.
Or Jack of Hearts or some shit. Like, there's a lot of teams that are made up of characters that are not archetypes. They're not anything types, really. Like, all of their characterization happens slowly and over the course of like decades sometimes, that they don't have really distinct voices. And something that's really common in comics that I really love, and this is true of New X-Men as well, is that the characters had really distinct voices.
Yes. Yeah. They feel like much more like actual characters as opposed to just archetypes or just, a person with a different superpower to draw on the page.
Yeah. And part of that is this focus on this core cast of these three. So I'm looking forward to exploring more.
Me too. If you like the show, patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv is the place to go to support the network as a whole. There's tons and tons of good shows. Gary, you guys just launched a brand new show that we haven't talked about, and you should talk about it.
I should. Everyone should go to orb.show to listen to
know the URL.
Orb.
It's pretty good. Orb.show.
Orb.show.
Yeah.
And it is our episode by episode recap show about the Venture Brothers. We have entered into the podcast genre of recaps of cartoons that are 2 to 4 times longer than the cartoon itself.
Gary, that's what this podcast started out as being. So
yeah.
I think you're very maybe Cole's not very comfortable with this, but like you have to be pretty cozy right now.
I guess that's true. We're back in it. This is so I am pretty cozy. It feels good to be back. Is my point. We've recorded 2 episodes of that. That is really fun. And it is also, I'm looking forward to watching that too. This is a good fall for me, like hitting some media I really love between, Ecstatics and Venture Brothers.
You're doing, episode per podcast?
Yep.
Weekly?
Yep. Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah. And, just kind of going through one of the things I really want to do. And we just recorded an episode, like the intro episode and then the pilot, but is explain what all these references are, because like, every weird drawing in the Venture Brothers is like some weird obscure Marvel Comics character, like a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to pointing those out.
Like Truculles.
That's Chappie.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I love
Truculles.
Truculles so much.
Truculles, the combination truck Hercules.
Oh man, when he gets a little drunk and he's like beep beep, Truculles coming through.
Really good. Oh, there's like there's when he goes to the wedding.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Where's your +1? Yeah, this big rig seats for 2. I'm afraid Truculles is going stag. It's really good.
So good. Oh man, I'm so looking forward to it. Things have been obviously a little crazy right now, so I haven't listened to the episodes from the Patreon feed yet, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Venture Brothers is one of my favorite shows of all time. So,
oh yeah, and for fans of Jeremy Greer, like we're 1,000% going to have you on.
Yeah.
So we just like once we get a couple episodes and get our rhythm, our friends and stuff that we know who love, we're gonna the thing be like, hey, probably just a couple guests per season, but just like, what is the episode on the first season that you love the most? Like, we want to have you on. We want to have Gwen on, who is a huge fan and also did our theme song,
cool.
which is a phenomenal banger.
Yeah, I did listen to that the other day. It was super good.
Yeah, it's really good. She's incredibly talented.
I'm going to volunteer Autumn to come on at some point because she's a big Venture Brothers fan.
Oh,
too.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I would love that. I don't get enough Autumn in my life.
Autumn just looked at me and was like, I don't want to do that. I'm just kidding. She's not in the room. I'm podcasting.
Yeah. The podcasting is like, how back in the day, like if a woman had her period, they make them go stay in a hut.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
When a guy does his podcast, you have to go stay in the hut.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like it's, she's not around.
She's not around.
Like you're fucking debasing yourself.
This is terrible. It's hot and sweaty in here. I don't even have a fan on for some reason. I'm just terrible.
Yeah. It's like a fucking locker room. There's an entire locker room in each of my armpits. And they're talking about shooting their dicks. I don't want to be a part of this.
Terrible conversation. We'll see you next time with X-Force 118.
More terrible conversation.